very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the ManageEngine team, I welcome you to today's free OpManager training series. Before we could start, please confirm if you're able to hear me properly and see the presentation. You can confirm by commenting in the chat channel. We'll start the presentation once we get few confirmations. Okay, we have started receiving few confirmations that the audio and the presentation is clear. If you have any doubts during the session, you can always ask us. We have a team of panelists here who could answer all your questions. And also, we'll be having a quick question and answer session at the end of the webinar where we would be sharing few of the interesting questions which we have received during the course of the webinar for the advantage of larger audience. Let me introduce myself. I'm R. Surendran, one of the product experts from the ManageEngine team who takes care of support, product training, and implementation for OpManager. So now let's go ahead with seeing the benefits of this OpManager training program. Starting with, we'll be able to get an in-depth understanding on how to design and configure our network monitoring solution. You'll be able to get in-depth knowledge about the product, sparing you from going through a large number of documentations. And likewise, the next best thing is that you'll be able to get a personalized demo session since it's included in the live demonstration of the tool and its operation. And also, you'll be able to see various different examples on how the OpManager can be used in different scenarios based on your own field of working. The schedule for this season of OpManager. Today, we are going to see on network discovery, which is part 1, followed by on September 14, we'll be seeing the part 2, which is on network monitoring with OpManager. So what are the various different parameters and metrics which can be monitored using OpManager will be covered in the part 2 of this season. And part 3, which is conducted on September 21st, where we'll be seeing in-depth about alerts, reports, and network mapping. And finally, on September 28th, we'll be seeing about the add-ons and integrations. For the better advantage of larger audience, we do have 2 schedules of this season of training program. One is conducted in the GMT time zone, the second, which is conducted now in the EDT time zone. And likewise, we'll be sending the recorded version of the training series to your email address based on the registration. And now let's kickstart the part 1 of this season of OpManager, where we're going to see in depth about network discovery. What are the various ways of discovering or adding devices to the OpManager to monitor your network equipments to the fullest. The agenda for the presentation is as follows. First, we'll see the device discovery, the various different ways to add devices or servers to the OpManager, which is there in your environment. And then we'll see how agent-based monitoring can be used and how to deploy agents for real-time monitoring of the servers which are there in your environment. Interface-based discovery. Here in the presentation, we'll see what are the various different easier ways to discover the interfaces to the OpManager instead of discovering each and every interface or link which is there in your environment. And then we'll be seeing the virtualization based discovery, where we can see the best ways of adding your virtual environment to the OpManager. And now, before we can go ahead further into the product, the first important thing is user management. So for any product, you should be able to log in with various different privileges to access the application and get more details with better privileges to do specific tasks. So here in OpManager, we can do that using the user management, where you can create your own roles, and the default roles are administrator and operator. By the name itself, we could understand that the administrator is a full control user and the operator is the read-only privileged user. And likewise, we have another option where you can create module-specific roles for the users for better control. Instead of having full control or just read-only privileged users, you can create your own roles and assign it to specific users or specific departments in your organization. And likewise, in OpManager, we do support AD authentication, pass-through, and radius server. And there is a brand new feature which we have introduced, which is called as two-factor authentication, which we are going to see in detail in the upcoming slide. So the brand new feature, the two-factor authentication. Nowadays, network security and login privileges are in a much more higher stake, where we need to have a better control or a two-way or a three-way window for any login attempts to our servers or applications which has critical information. So OpManager provides you an out-of-box two-factor authentication where it provides additional level of authentication and improves the security by requiring the user to provide an unique time-based OTP generated through an authenticator or app or any one OTP generator which is configured with your own email address. And here from the Op Manager, you can use Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Duo Mobile, or Zoho One, or any other multi-factor authentications which you have in your environment can be integrated with Op Manager and used. And also, if you want to know more about the two-factor authentication and how things can be configured, you can always visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So now let me quickly take you to the Op Manager itself and show you the various different options which are available in terms of user management. So the first page, what you see when you log into the product is called as the dashboard, which is going to give you the pictorial representation of the collected information about your network. So let's go back to the user management. So user management is under settings, general settings, user management. So under user management, all the predefined users or the users which you have already created will be listed under the user tab. So as we have seen, we can create our own roles apart from the full admin user or read-only privileged user based on your environment. Let's say there is a SQL team and you want to give the SQL team privilege to edit and delete monitors alone and specific changes. So in those cases, you can assign a specific role. Or let's say you have a network team who needs access to flow-based privileges to edit or delete certain monitors which we are already monitoring. So in those special case scenarios, you can create your own roles and log into the Op Manager and assign these roles to desired teams or users authentications. And likewise, the most important thing, the two-factor authentication. So the two-factor authentication is pretty simple and straightforward in enabling it from the Op Manager. So all you have to do is you have to just enable the two-factor authentication, choose the authentication mode, whether it's going to be an authenticator app, which you have in your environment, or which is there by default in the live market, or you can use your own email address, which is tied up with that particular user account. And then you can also set the time period in which the login should be trusted on that specific browser when you enter an OTP. So even that option is available. So once you have done that, all you have to do is you have to save it. And then when any user logs into the Op Manager, automatically they would be have to enter the OTP or the one-time password to log into the product to see all the privileged information. So this gives a two-way authority, a two-way window for the login into the Op Manager with higher privileges as well. And likewise, you can also set your own password policies based on individual environments. So an educational institution will have a different password policy. Likewise, and government organization will have a different password policy. So based on your environment, you can customize the password which has to be entered for the respective users to access the Op Manager. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about the discovery. So we have the users ready and they can access the product pretty easily. The next important thing is that we should be able to add the devices and our environment to the Op Manager so that we can monitor it and get the required data accordingly. So Op Manager provides you two different discovery methods. One is an automatic discovery, which happens during the installation itself, where it uses the Nmap protocol to gather the devices, the local devices in the local subnet and add them. And after that, you can provide the respective credentials and do a bulk discovery for other subnets as well. And the second discovery option which is provided is called as manual discovery. By the name itself, we could understand that you can manually trigger the discovery from the Op Manager and add your devices on a bulk or on a single instance. So now, let's see in detail about the various manual discovery options which are available within the product. When we talk about discovery options in Op Manager, we have a wide range of discovery options where you can easily and in a faster manner. You can add your devices at a single stretch. You can schedule for an automatic scan for any new devices in that particular subnet in a much easier way as well. So here, during the network discovery, you have different ways of adding devices. You can use an IP range, you can use a subnet based discovery, you can import your devices directly from your Active Directory, or you can import the devices if you have a CSV with the respective columns, which we're going to see in detail when we go to the application directly. And in the discovery process, you have something as called as an interesting feature, which is called as approve and ignore mechanism. So this approve and ignore mechanism allows you to assign or choose the devices which you want to add in the list which you have given. So for example, you have given a huge subnet, and every device which is reachable and the credentials are working will be listed. So from this list, you can select the respective devices which you want to monitor, which is going to save your time in monitoring the critical devices and also avoid going overlap the license count as well. And likewise, you can also use the option to ignore the devices. So once you ignore certain set of devices, let's say you have multiple laptops in your environment which you don't want to monitor. So if you ignore those laptops for any discovery, and those devices will never be shown for the future discoveries or will be added. Only that is that you have to go and remove these devices from the ignore list, only after which the devices will be added. So if you want to know more about the discovery as a video presentation, you can visit the below link, which is going to give you a detailed pictorial representation of the discovery which can be done in the product. So now let me quickly take you to the product and show you the various different ways of performing a discovery. So during the discovery process, the first thing which you have to remember, the prerequisite, is that you should have your credential library prepared and ready. So OpManager monitors your devices based on various different protocols. So these protocols are pretty vital for monitoring the devices. So from SNMP to WMI, or for Linux-based devices, CLI or SSH, VMware-based credential, UCS, IPMI, or the ACI or Nutanix, any discovery or any protocols based on the vendor, it is there in the product. So all you have to do is you have to keep these protocols or credentials ready, so that once you add your devices to the product, we can use these credentials and collect the required performance metrics or any metric which you want to monitor, and then show you the data. So for the discovery, the first important thing is that you should have your credentials and protocols enabled on your environment, and you should be able to open the respective ports accordingly, so that the product can discover the devices and then monitor the required parameters in a much easier way. So now let's see the various different discovery options which are there in OpManager. So as you have seen, under network discovery, we can discover the devices based on the IP ranges. You can give multiple IP ranges and perform a discovery, and then select the devices whichever you want. Or you can perform a discovery based on the entire subnet, or you can import the devices from your Active Directory pretty directly into the product in a single stretch. All you have to remember is that you have to provide a domain admin credential for the AD discovery. And likewise, in OpManager, you also have a CSV file import. Let's say you have a CSV file with the device details, the type and the device name of it. So if you have that with the IP address, you can just import that on a bulk using a CSV import method from the OpManager pretty easily. And here you also have a sample file from the product itself, which can be a reference point for you to create the respective CSV file. And let me show you the sample CSV file, which is going to give you an idea. So this is a sample CSV file through which you can import your devices on bulk. So all you have to do is you have to just keep a sheet like this ready with 3 columns: device name or IP, the display name, and the device type. Once you have these 3 columns and all the details on a bulk, then you can perform a bulk discovery using the CSV file import. Let's say I'm going to perform a bulk discovery using an IP range. So as soon as all I have to do is I have to give a name for it. So the first thing is that I'm going to give a name for it. And once I have done that, I'm going to give an IP range. So let's put an IP range here. Once you have the desired IP range configured, all you have to do is you have to click on plus sign, choose the desired credentials, and then perform discovery. If you want to have multiple subnet ranges, yes, you can do that. All you have to do is you have to put the respective subnet ranges over here and then perform the discovery on a bulk manner pretty easily. So let's So this is how you can put multiple IP ranges and perform the discovery. So once you click on discovery, the product will scan these IP ranges on a bulk manner and show all the available devices which can be reached from the OpManager install server. So once the discovery happens, you'll be able to see all the list of devices which were available in this particular list. And likewise, if that device is already present inside the product, you'll also see that it is existing. So from here, all you have to do is just select the desired devices and either approve them or ignore them. I know that these sort of devices or a laptop or a desktop devices which I don't want to monitor. So in those cases, I can simply click on ignore. So once I do that, those devices will be automatically ignored. And likewise, if I want to approve certain devices, all you have to do is just click on approve. And those devices will be automatically added to the product, and you'll be able to see that 4 devices has been added in this particular range, or 4 device, or the respective device count has been ignored. So these ignored or added devices, the approved devices will directly go into the inventory, and you'll be able to see them under the inventory tab with the respective type and the credentials. And then when we talk about the ignored devices, as soon as you ignore the device, those devices will be listed in the ignore list. So till these devices are there in this list, you will not be able to add them again to the product. This will be ignored till it is there in the list. So if you want to add them again, you have to remove them from this list and then perform a device discovery. And likewise, you have a discovery rule engine, which is a pretty helpful tool when you want to do multiple tasks during the discovery itself, which we are going to see in detail in the upcoming slides. And likewise, the rediscovery option is going to help you update the inventory pretty easily and pretty straightforward. And in case if you have forgotten to approve certain set of devices, all the unapproved devices will be listed in the unapproved tab, which is going to give you a detailed picture. And likewise, you do have the detailed discovery report as what has happened at what particular time, which user has triggered it, how many devices have been added at that particular time. So you'll have an entire discovery audit, which is pretty easily available from the product side. And likewise, when we talk about other discovery options, which we are going to see right now. So here, let's say you have forgotten to add one particular device, or there is one device which is brand new to your environment. You don't want to go through an entire network discovery or wait for the automatic discovery to happen, which you've already scheduled to run every week. So instead of that, you can just put the IP address of that particular device, choose the credential and click on add. So this is a quick way of adding a single device to the product in a much easier and a much faster fashion. And now we're going to continue with the presentation. The next topic, as we have seen, a quick discovery option. The quick discovery, as we have seen, will allow us to add one particular device or an individual device for a faster discovery option, which helps us add the device in a much easier and a faster fashion. And now let's move on to the next topic and see more about the OpManager. The next important thing which we are going to see is about deploying the agents. What is an agent and how it's going to help us? And what are the advantages of using agents and how it can be deployed easily from the product side? So agent-based monitoring is a brand new feature which we have introduced in the OpManager, which allows you to monitor your devices without any credentials in a much easier way. The only restriction is that this is supported only for Windows devices as of now. So now let's see in detail on the various features which are available and the advantages of using an agent-based monitoring from a protocol-based monitoring of the devices inside OpManager. So here, these agents, these exe files are pretty lightweighted, which is less than 1 MB, and by using a single click, you can install them on the respective servers. And you can easily, and this agent-based monitoring or deploying these agents will work and is supported only if you have a secure connection, which is nothing but you have to enable HTTPS or an SSL with a valid certificate so that you can deploy the agents and use agent-based monitoring. And you can easily install these on bulk from the OpManager, or you can deploy it on bulk using the Active Directory for multiple devices. Instead of downloading the agent and installing it on the respective devices one by one, you can use the OpManager to push them on bulk, or you can use your group policies from your Active Directory to push on bulk to the respective Windows devices. And likewise, let's say you can have a concern that how much of CPU or resources this agent is going to consume on my end device. It's going to be pretty less than 1% based on the data which we are collecting. So from the testing, we could easily tell that the CPU usage by the OpManager's agent is going to be less than 1%. And likewise, you'll be able to get a real-time monitoring. That's going to be the major advantage. If there is a server reboot or if the server goes down for a pretty short time, let's say for 30 seconds or 1 minute, the agent is going to notify you that the device went down and came back online. There was a downtime of 30 seconds. So you'll not miss any downtimes which is happening in your devices. And likewise, you don't need any protocols or credentials, which is going to be a headache for secured environments. They can't open certain ports and they don't want to do it. So in those cases, in those environments, you can easily use the agent-based monitoring with no protocols. Just install the agent and the product is automatically going to discover it to the product and we are going to monitor it. And likewise, this is applicable only for the Windows servers. So you have to remember that this is applicable only for the Windows servers as of now. So you can deploy the agents and monitor them for the Windows servers which are there in your environment. So now let's go to the application and see the various different options and the deploying methods when we talk about agent-based installations. So as we have discussed, you can directly download the agent from the OpManager and install it on the respective devices, or you can push them on bulk or remotely from the product. All you have to do is just put the device name, provide an domain admin credential so that we could push the exe from here and install it on the respective device and start monitoring them. So deploying the agent is as simple as you can see. Either you can use the product to push them, or you can have your Active Directory or AD to push them using a group policy on bulk for multiple devices on a much easier way. So this is how you can use the agent-based monitoring from the OpManager to deploy it in a much easier way and also monitor them with a much greater highlights. And also the major advantage of an agent-based monitoring is that even when the OpManager itself is down, the agent still monitors your devices, and as soon as the product comes back active, the agents will push the collected data to the product, and the OpManager is going to have the data. So there'll be no downtime in your environment where the agent will be monitoring your devices even if the OpManager is down. That's one of the major and a critical feature for switching to an agent-based monitoring. And like I said, this is supported only for Windows servers as of now. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And also, like I said, you can store, the agent will store the data for an hour, even if the product, the OpManager itself, a network monitoring tool is down, there's a major downtime or a network discrepancy because of which the agents and the OpManager is not able to communicate. So even in those worst case scenarios, the OpManager's agent is still going to monitor your device for the next 1 hour and store the data. And then as soon as the product comes back active, it's going to give you all the data. So there'll be no downtime in your monitoring solution, which is a major advantage. And now we are going to go to the next topic, which is called as interface discovery. So interface discovery is a major thing where here you can have a dedicated space for interface discovery by defining specific criteria. Let's say in all our environments, the major headache for the network administrators is that they have thousands and thousands of links and interfaces in their environment, and out of which, let's say 40 to 60% of them will not be critical interfaces or critical links. So in those cases, they don't want to monitor everything and get notified for each and every change is happening in a less critical interface rather than a more critical. Let's say there is an uplink interface which is pretty critical for you. So in those scenarios, the OpManager provides you a specialized, a critical discovery option, which gives you an advantage of adding and monitoring only the desired set of interface and types. So here you can put various different criteria to discover the interfaces. Starting from, you can do them based on criteria, type, vendor, IP address, display name, and also interface criteria are also available. Let's say you want to add only specific types. For example, if you want to add only Ethernet, yes, you can do it. If it's going to be a loopback interface, yes, you can do it. If it's going to be a fast Ethernet, yes, you can do it. So you can put multiple criterias and add only the desired set. So you can monitor only your Ethernets or only your uplink interfaces pretty easily. And likewise, you can also have admin status, if speed, if index, and all the other informations as well. So by using the interface discovery, you can easily filter out and add the interfaces which you only want to monitor, and instead of having everything in your environment which is less critical, which are not needed to be monitored inside the monitoring solution, you can have your critical interfaces added in a pretty specialized manner and monitor them to the fullest, so that you'll know if something goes wrong, you'll know immediately, because the op manager as a network monitoring tool is going to notify you if something goes wrong based on the criteria and the thresholds which you have configured for the respective parameters in the interface or in any devices which you are monitoring. And also, I would like to remind you that if you have any questions in the topics which we are discussing in the part 1 of the training series, feel free to raise the questions in the chat channel, and our team of panelists will be able to answer them. And now, let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about update properties. So what is this update properties and how it's going to benefit me in certain scenarios? So in our environment, the RAM or the IP address or the hard disk or the let's say server parameters will change. The server specs will change based on the improvements or upgrades which we are performing. So we cannot set and update these details. The product is going to automatically update those information in a much easier fashion. So all you have to do is you have to perform or you have to create a rediscovery profile, so for the existing devices or for your entire IP range itself. So if you configure it for the existing devices, the changes in the IP address, RAM, disk, and etc., the hardware matrices will be updated automatically. Or if there is any brand new devices which are coming into your environment, the IP range based schedule discovery will add your new devices to the product in a much easier fashion. And likewise, if there is any change with your interface properties like speed or descriptions, it will get updated automatically every 24 hours by the product itself. So now we are going to go to the next important field or device type, virtual based environments. So nowadays, majority of the environments are virtual based or cloud based environments where the discovery option from the product is also in a facilitated manner, where we have given you a dedicated discovery process for virtual networks which supports VMware, Hyper-V, Zen, Nutanix, HCL, and ACIs, and multiple different virtual based environments which you have in your environment can be easily added inside the op manager. And also, upon discovering the vCenter, the other entities such as host and VMs will get added automatically. And here we also support vCenter based discovery and host based discovery in a much detailed fashion as well. So now let me take you to the product and show you the various different virtualization and discovery options which are available when we talk about a virtual environment. So here under virtual environment, as you can see, you can perform your discovery based on your vCenter or your host. You can perform it based on your Hyper-V host as well, or Zen servers or Nutanix environment. So once all you have to do is enter your vCenter's IP address or DNS name, choose the credential, and if the respective vCenter on the subordinate host and the VMs have WMI and SNMP requirements, you can select those credential as well and perform a bulk discovery. So as soon as you perform a vCenter based discovery, automatically the vCenter will be added to the product, and then these supported and the subordinate entities such as host and VMs will be easily discovered on a single go. Instead of adding them one by one or using a bulk discovery, you can simply add your vCenter, and then automatically all the entities which are under them will get added in a much easier and a faster fashion. And now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about storage discovery. So here, the first thing which you have to understand is storage discovery or storage monitoring is an add-on in the op manager and is licensed separately. So based on the number of disks which you want to monitor, you can add your storage devices. So storage monitoring is an add-on in op manager which is licensed based on number of disks which you want to monitor in your storage device. So now when we talk about the supported devices for storage monitoring, we support RAID storage, tape library, FC switches for various different vendors such as Dell, HP, and Huawei. And here we can use SNMP, CLI, or SMI, or also the API based credentials to add and monitor your storage devices. And here we support communication protocols with various different ways of monitoring your storage devices from the op manager itself. So now let me take you to the product and show you the various different ways of adding your storage devices to the product. So all you have to do is you have to make sure that you select the device type properly. If it's going to be a RAID device, just choose a RAID device. Then choose the device model. If it's going to be a Dell component device, just choose it. Give the IP address. Choose the SMI credential. And then if you're not sure if the connection is going to work, if the discovery is going to work properly, all you have to do is click on test connection, it's going to tell you that the credential is proper and it has the required privileges. And then if you click on OK, automatically the devices would be added to the op manager in a much easier fashion. So as soon as you add your storage devices, you can see the various vital informations when it comes to storage based monitoring from disk, loon, or storage informations for that particular storage device in your environment. So this gives you a better hand on monitoring your storage equipments which are there in your environment. So let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about Nutanix Discovery. In OpManager, you can discover the cluster and then all the entities such as host, VMs, storage will be automatically discovered in a much easier fashion like it happened for the vCenter or host. And here the Nutanix virtual map is also available, and we have a dedicated report with summary, inventory, and latency, and etc. And this Nutanix based discovery and monitoring is based on the Prism API framework to fetch the performance metrics from your Nutanix environment. And likewise, if you want to know more about the Nutanix based discovery, please visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So now let me take you to the Op Manager and show you the various different ways of discovering your Nutanix environment inside Op Manager, and then see multiple data based on the information which you want from the product side. So let's give it a few minutes for the product to log in. So as soon as you log into the product, like other discovery options, so all you have to do is you have to go to settings. Under discovery, you have the Nutanix discovery option, which is pretty much available on your discovery option. And once you select it, you have to give the name of the device and choose the credential and add them in. And as soon as you add your Nutanix cluster to the Op Manager, automatically your Nutanix devices will be monitored and listed here. So if I click on my Nutanix cluster, which I've already added, as you can see, I can see the cluster, the number of hosts which are under them, were the virtual machines, the disk on this particular cluster, and the overall storage container. So this is the main advantage of using Nutanix cluster-based discovery, which adds the devices on bulk in a much easier and a much faster fashion. Let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about layer 2 discovery. When we talk about layer 2 discovery, here in the Op Manager, you can perform a discovery to add and monitor your entire network through your seed or core router. And likewise, you can set device dependencies automatically. So in all our environments, whenever a core router or sub router goes down, automatically the connected devices, the next layer of devices under that particular router or switch is going to be, let's say, out of the network or not reachable. So in those cases, instead of giving you notification on, let's say, multiple devices are down, we'll give you a notification that the parent device is down. Then automatically the child devices will be in a state where it will let you know that the dependent device is down. So this makes a better monitoring solution and an alerting mechanism. And you can configure a schedule interval to update the devices in your network automatically. And you can export this diagram as an Microsoft Visio diagram as well. And if you want to know more about how to export the layer 2 map as a Visio diagram, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So let me take you to the application and show you how the layer 2 discovery works and what are the options which are available. So as you can see, for the layer 2 discovery, all you have to do is you have to enter your core router or your seed router's IP address and then give a range, the start and the end range or a multiple range through which you have to scan your network and add the respective devices, and choose the discovery mechanism. If it's going to be a Cisco based environment, you can choose CDP and go ahead. And if it's going to be a multi-vendor environment with multiple different devices, so in those cases you have to choose LLDP or IP route or FTP or ARP-based discovery, so that the respective devices will be automatically added and shown in the Op Manager. Likewise, you can set the device dependencies and set an interval by which the product will automatically scan this particular network from the core router's point of view and give you the details in a much easier fashion. And likewise, when we talk about how the diagram is going to look, so this is how the diagram is going to look as soon as you add your device. So here, once you add your device, you'll be automatically able to see what's the status and how things are happening. And you can have multiple layer 2 diagrams, and from here as well, you can import these devices directly to the Op Manager, rediscover the map, save it as a business view, you can export them as a CSV, and you can also viewed as a printer-friendly view as well. So this is how the Op Manager gives you a better hand of discovering your devices using your core router in a much easier via the layer 2 discovery option. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about wireless LAN discovery or WLC discovery. So in Op Manager, we have an exclusive support for wireless LAN controllers. Here, it allows you to have an in-depth visibility of your wireless LAN controller and its associated service set identifiers, the SSIDs or access points, and the signal strength usage, and etc. So now let me take you to the application and show you the various different options which are available when we talk about adding our wireless LAN controller, the Cisco WLC to the Op Manager. So here, the discovery is pretty simple and straightforward. So you should have your credential ready. And once you have your credentials, choose the desired model. If it's going to be an Aruba controller, you can choose that Aruba controller, enter the name of the device, and click on Add Device. So as soon as you add your wireless LAN controller to the Op Manager, automatically you'll be able to see the entire LAN network with the SSIDs and access points in a much detail and a clear fashion. So here, if I click on one of my WLC which I've already added, as you can see, all the SSIDs, the access points, and the rogue SSIDs are listed with the client information. So you will have an entire picture of your entire network based on your WLC, which you've added to the Op Manager with a detailed description of what is happening at what particular time and what are the metrics which are there in your environment in a much detailed and a clear fashion. A small reminder, if you have any questions in the topics which we are discussing, please do raise it in our chat channel so that our team of panelists can answer them. Let's continue with the presentation. The next topic which we are going to see is about Cisco Meraki Discovery and its options which are available in the Op Manager. So here, this is a brand new option and supported, which we have released in the Op Manager, where the Cisco Meraki controllers can be added based on APIs and it can be monitored as well. And each organization and network can be monitored and discovered in a much easier and a fast manner. Here, you can monitor your Meraki security device, radio device, switches, or your Meraki cellular gateways, or even your Meraki vision devices as well. And you can get to know about your rogue SSIDs, clients, and APs and its usage in a much detailed fashion. So now let me take you to the Op Manager and show you how a Cisco Meraki controller is added to the product and what are the various different ways and the information which you will be able to see once you add your Cisco wireless controller to the product and view them. So as you can see, as soon as the discovery option is pretty straightforward. So all you have to do is you have to go to settings, and under discovery, you can see your Cisco Meraki discovery option. Enter your API and then click on organization, fetch organization. Automatically, the organization with respect to the Meraki device will be listed, and then you have to choose the respective organization and then click on discovery. So as soon as you add your organization in the respective devices, automatically those devices would be listed and you can view the organization and all the vital information which you want to monitor in a detailed fashion as you were able to see for any virtual based discoveries or Nutanix or Zen servers which are there in your environment. So this is how you can easily add your Meraki controller for specific organization and monitor the desired set of devices in a much detailed fashion. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about add IPMI, Intelligent Platform Management Interface. Here, if using Op Manager, you would be able to monitor the independent of the server CPU operating system and power status. You can monitor the system's temperature, fan speed, power supply, voltage, and etc. You can also monitor the shutdown or start of the servers from the report machine itself. Here, we support Dell, iDRAC, HP ILO, and by IBM devices from the product itself. And here, as soon as you add your devices to the Op Manager, you will be able to see much greater information when we talk about devices and the ILO devices which you want to monitor. So if you want to add any IPMI based devices, all you have to do is you have to go to settings, discovery, click on add IPMI, choose the vendor type, give the IP address, then the credentials. Once you have the credentials and when you add your IPMI devices to product, automatically those devices will be listed here based on the device type and the category which we are monitoring. So from here, you can see the vital information of those respective ILO devices based on sensors or hardware or various different metrics which are pretty critical for your environment with respect to this particular ILO or IPMI based device. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about Cisco ACI discovery options and what are the various parameters which can be monitored. So when we talk about Cisco ACI based discovery in OpManager, here this is a brand new feature where the discovery and the monitoring is going to work based on the API. Here you can have your SDN environment and monitor the Cisco ACI devices and all its associated components. And likewise, we can monitor the APIC controller, the fabric switches such as spine or super spine or leaf devices, the tenants or the end groups based on each and every device which are there and its components in your Cisco ACI device. You can monitor that using OpManager. So when we talk about the different devices or the discovery options, when we talk about Cisco ACI, the discovery method is as simple as we can add a single device. All you have to do is you have to enter the IP address, choose the credential, and once you choose the credential and click on add, automatically your Cisco ACI device will be added to the product and you will be able to see the vital information with respect to your Cisco ACI environment and various SDNs so that this gives you a detailed picture about your environment. So as you can see, here you can see your topology, the fabric switches, the tenants which are under them, and the end groups which are available. So this gives you a better hand in the discovering of your entire SDN environment in a single go and monitor all the desired metrics in a much easier and a clear fashion. And also, I would like to inform you important data. Right now, in part one, we are seeing the discovery options. What are the various information which can be seen as just an overview. In the upcoming parts, which is part 2 and part 3, we'll be seeing in detail about the various metrics which we can monitor, how we can configure alerts, what are the different various ways of getting notification reports, and all the other options which are available as soon as you add your devices to the OpManager. So don't miss attending the next part 2 and part 3 of this seasons of webinar to know more about the various features and metrics which you can monitor using OpManager once you add your devices. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about groups. So grouping is an important filter which is needed for grouping the respective devices and also to view the devices or interfaces in a specific grouping or in a specific set, which can be used for reports, setting alerts, setting thresholds, or to assigning to a specific user group or for a specific user. So from OpManager, you can create device-based or interface groups for sites or departments. You can push configurations to a group to set device downtime, configure a threshold for an interface or fetch a group-based report and more. You can also push the threshold settings based on the custom groups. If you want to know more about the group creation and what are the various uses of creating a group in OpManager, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So now let me take you to the OpManager itself and show you what are the other grouping options and how can we create groups. So if you want to create any groups, let it be an interface group or a device-based group, all you have to do is you have to click on add, give a name for the group. For example, if it's going to be part one or group one, and then I can choose my devices. I can put it based on a criteria as well. So here I'm going to create it based on devices, and I'm going to put it based on criteria. So here I want the type contained, it should be a Windows device. So this is for my Windows admin. So I want the group only for my Windows devices. And then if you want to put multiple other conditions, yes, you can do it. And then click on next. So you have to select the respective condition and then click on next. Choose the device on which the group's dependency to be set on. click on select, and then automatically you'll be able to see all the devices that are added in that particular group with the detailed information with respect to this particular group and the devices which are monitored under them. And using this group, you can use it in the filter for getting a specific report. You can use it for the users. You can use it for threshold based configurations and each and every other information as well. And now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about how to make your discovery smart. So yeah, we have seen the various different ways of discovering options, the bulk discovery as well. But how to make it even more smarter and even more easier for me? What are the various options which are available from the Op Manager which helps me make my discovery even more easier with the available feature? So here we have an interesting feature which is called as discovery filter. The discovery filter allows you to ignore or add specific set of devices based on the type of criteria which you set. You can add or ignore devices, you can set specific conditions and add them accordingly. And this saves lots of your time and your license as well. And the next important feature which makes the discovery in a much smarter way is called as discovery rule engine. So the discovery rule engine is a feature inside the Op Manager which does multiple actions during the discovery itself. So for example, if you want to have all the Windows servers to have specific monitors, say CPU, memory, and disk and partitions, you can do that. You can put in case if you have want these set of Windows devices to be associated to a group, you can do that. If you want to associate it to the notification profile, yes, you can do that. So all your post discovery actions can be done using the discovery rule engine in a much easier and in a single go. So here, let's take an example to understand how the discovery rule engine is going to save our time and how we can configure it in real time. So here, as we are going to take an example, I'm going to make a discovery for my Windows devices. So if I see any Windows 2012 R2 server with an IP which starts with 192.168.1.x, I want to add an URL monitor to that device automatically. And the second action which I want to perform is to associate these devices to a notification profile for a device downtime and email it to my Windows admin who's called as James. And the third action which we want to do is to associate this servers to a business view called as HO servers. And likewise, and I also want to associate certain set of Windows event log rule and service monitors to these Windows 2012 R2s when it's discovered. So how to achieve all these four actions in a single go using the discovery rule engine. So now let me take you to the application and show you how this can be achieved. So to go and create a discovery rule engine, all you have to do is you have to go to settings. Under discovery, you have to go to your network discovery, or from here you can click on discovery rule engine. So under your discovery rule engine, you can create multiple different actions. So as you have seen, I have created a rule where I've given a criteria. If the IP address starts with 192.168.1 and if it's a Windows 2012 R2, I want to associate these devices to a specific business view, put them to a business view called as HO, and I don't want this action to be executed. If I want to put it to a Windows server, yes, you can do it. If I want to associate it to a Windows log rule, yes, you can do it. And if I want to push it to a notification profile, yes, you can do it. And if I want to associate it to an URL monitor, yes, you can do it. You can add your URL monitor and click on plus. And once you do that, that URL monitor will also be listed. And once you have them, and if you have the status enabled, during the network discovery, this particular discovery rule engine will be used and all the selected actions will be executed based on the criteria which you're selecting. So this is how you can use the discovery rule engine from the Op Manager to make your discovery in a much faster fashion and have perform multiple post discovery actions during the discovery itself and have a better advantage. And let's say I've already performed my discovery. Is there a way to run it manually for the existing devices? Yes, you have a way of doing that as well. Select the rule which you want to run for the existing devices, click on rerun rule, and then select the devices, put it to the selected box and run it. So this is how you can do it during the discovery or after the discovery when you want to make specific changes on a bulk for specific set of devices in a much easier fashion. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. Now we are moving on to the question and answer session, where I'm going to share a few of the interesting questions which I've received during the course of the webinar for the better advantage of larger audience. First question: what is the system requirement to install OpManager in any environments? So here, the system requirement is simple and straightforward. The OpManager can be installed on a physical or a virtual server. OpManager supports PG-SQL, which comes in bundled with the product itself, or you can use the Microsoft SQL database, which is there already in your environment. And we need a minimum of 20 GB of hard disk with 4 GB of RAM. As of now, OpManager can be installed on both Windows and Linux-based servers. To know more about the entire hardware and software requirements with the port requirements, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. Moving on to the next question. I am an evaluator and I need help in choosing the right edition which OpManager provides. So in OpManager, we do have three major editions which are available, starting from standard, which has a limited amount of monitoring devices and features. The professional, the wholesome OpManager, which all the features enabled, and the enterprise edition, which is a distributed OpManager, which has central and pro, which are performed for larger environments where they want to monitor multiple different devices in various different sites in various other editions. And the other editions which are available under OpManager is called as OpManager MSP, which can be used for the MSP based customers and environments. And if you want to know more about the editions and the features which are available, please visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So now we are going to move on to the next question and see how it benefits us. Moving on to the next question. Can an agent-based monitoring notify us when there is a server reboot? Absolutely. The agent-based monitoring can notify you when there is a server reboot. Can I re-add the ignored devices? Yes, you can re-add it. Let me show you how this can be achieved. So all you have to do is you have to go to your discovery, and under network discovery, you will have the devices which you've already ignored. So the first thing what you have to do is you have to remove the desired devices from the ignore list, and then use the usual discovery option to add the devices to the OpManager in a much easier fashion. So this is how you can add your ignored devices again to the product for monitoring it. Moving on to the next question. What are the supported device models for storage monitoring? The storage monitoring supports various different types and vendors which are available in our live market. And the other device models which are supported in the OpManager can be viewed in a much detail and a clear fashion if you visit the link which is provided in the discovery itself. So you do not go to the help document or refer multiple other documents to see which are the supported models. All you have to do is just click on this link and you'll be able to see the list of devices which are supported, or you can also raise for a device model which is not listed for the discovery option in the OpManager which you're using. And now let's go back to the question and answer session and continue. Can you tell me more about the discovery settings? So now let me take you to the product and show you and explain you what is the discovery settings. So in OpManager, we have an advanced discovery settings, which is going to allow you to perform certain filters and actions during the discovery itself, apart from the various other options which we have. You can select if the routers is which is to be added to the add-on, which is called as NCM, or if you want to add your subnets or switches to the op utils, or if you want to perform a discovery based on traps, or if you want to see the progress of the discovery which is happening, if you want to use the DNS name as the display name, or if you want to discover the devices on add-ons to the OpManager, or if you want to have the interface discovery enabled or not. So you can perform all these multi-actions during the discovery itself by using the discovery settings which is available in the OpManager. And likewise, you can also monitor the respective devices based on the IP address or DNS. And now let's go back to the presentation and continue. how to test the credentials for all my devices which are there in the Op Manager. So it's pretty easy. All you have to do is you have to go to settings, discovery, and under discovery, you have something called as test credential. So here you can create a profile associated to all devices and schedule it to be executed at a specific time so that you can easily test if the credentials are working or not in a much easier fashion. You can schedule them or execute them for a time or for a specific timeline. You can send the report to a specific email address to see how many credentials are working, how many are not. So this helps you understand and update the credentials, which are pretty vital for monitoring the device parameters from the op manager. Let's go back to the question and answer session and continue. And I would like to inform you and welcome you to the next season, the part 2 of the Op Manager training series, which is going to be conducted on September 14th, where we'll be discussing in detail about network monitoring in Op Manager, where we'll see about device availability, server, network, and virtual performance matrices, WLC and IPSLA monitoring, and script monitoring from the Op Manager as well. And now let's go and continue. And if you want to get certified as an Op Manager Pro, this is the right time. All you have to do is click on the link which is given in the presentation slide, register yourself, attend a short examination, and become an Op Manager certified technician, which is going to help you use the Op Manager to the fullest to monitor your network in a much detail and a clear fashion. And you can view all our technical and how to do videos in our YouTube channel, and you can visit the help document by visiting the help.opmanager.com, and we'll be having our technical discussion in our forum post, and you can visit and get in touch with our team by dropping an email to opmanager-support@manageengine.com, or you can dial directly and reach us anytime. I thank one and all for attending this part 1 of this season of Op Manager training series, and I'm looking forward to meet you all in the part 2 of this season of Op Manager training series. Thank you.